We've all had this thought at some point. If I just ran more, I would get faster. And when you're not improving, it's confusing. You start thinking, am I not doing enough? Should I just push more? Am I missing something? Because it feels like that's what everyone else is doing. And for a long time, I believed that too. So I did exactly that. In 2019, I signed up for my first marathon, ran a 3:05, and spent the next 7 years trying to figure out how to get better. At some point, that turned into a much bigger goal, to see how good I could actually get, and ultimately try to qualify for the Olympics. I tried different coaches, different methods, constantly experimenting, and what I realized is this: running more doesn't make you faster, unless your body's actually able to absorb it. And that's where most runners get stuck. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 habits that actually made me faster without running more. And more importantly, how they allowed me to eventually run more in a way that actually worked. So let's start with the first habit. And this one is not flashy, but it's honestly where a lot changed for me and why I'm so passionate about what I do here on YouTube and as a running coach. The first habit is understanding what your training is actually doing. Not just following a plan, but understanding the purpose behind it. Because what I see with a lot of runners is that they're working really hard, but they don't actually know what stimulus they're applying. They just think,
I ran 10 miles. I hit my workout. I followed the plan.
But none of that tells you if that was actually the right stress for your body. Runners think the magic lies in one workout, but in reality, it's the intensity, the duration, and the recovery relative to your total training and what your body can actually absorb. And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck. Society trains us to look for the one thing that will fix everything. But if you actually want long-term results, you need to understand what's going on yourself. That doesn't mean you don't use coaches or plans. It just means the more you understand the process, the better decisions you'll make. And honestly, my goal as a coach is that one day my athletes won't need me anymore. And that might not be the best business strategy, but I care more about that than anything else. Because once I properly understood intensity, recovery, and how the body adapts, I stopped just doing more and I started doing the right mix. And once you start thinking like that, you realize something pretty quickly. You need a way to actually track it. The second habit is tracking your training yourself. So not just relying on Strava or Garmin, but having your own system. And for me, that's an Excel sheet. And I know that sounds simple, but having a system is what actually lets you see the bigger picture. So where you're limiting yourself and what's actually working. Because instead of just seeing numbers, I started seeing patterns. I would write down what I actually did, how it felt, what was going on in my life. We're talking sleep, work, stress, travel, food, financial stress or deadlines, all the things that actually affect your training. Because my watch didn't know I was working on a startup or doing my MBA and honestly just stressed all the time. It captures some of it through features like body battery, but not enough. And trust me, my body knew. And when I didn't track that, I was missing the full picture. But tracking alone isn't enough. And I know this sounds like adding another thing, which is not what you want to hear, but this is a fundamental part. The third habit is building your own system. And this is where everything starts to connect. You don't just collect data, you reflect on it. After your runs, you ask yourself, why did this feel good? Why did this feel off? What influenced it? These are the questions I ask myself. And they're the exact same questions I ask the athletes I coach. So here are some typical things I see with myself and my athletes. Working late leads to less sleep, more fatigue. Traveling, especially across time zones, that is a huge recovery cost. Skipping full rest days leads to less adaptation. Pushing every workout leads to poor long-term consistency. And feeling proud of fast splits instead of adjusting when needed. And that last one is really big. You should be proud of your ability to adjust your training to what's optimal for your current situation. Let me repeat that because it's so important. You should be proud of your ability to adjust your training to what's optimal for your current situation. And that's also why I only give 1 week at a time to my athletes. And sometimes I even have them text me every day because the best training is dynamic. When you reflect like this, you start to understand your body in a completely different way and over time. And because once you have a system, you stop winging it. And when you stop winging it, you stop overdoing it. So for me, I was really good at doing everything right. I followed the plans. I hit paces, I had rest days, but I still ended up with 6 stress fractures in 4 years. And looking back, it makes complete sense because I wasn't actually controlling the load. I was just constantly chasing it. And a big switch for me was to train based on heart rate and time and actually understanding my internal load. So instead of just chasing paces and distance, and that's when everything honestly changed. My energy improved, the constant pain disappeared, and for the first time, I felt like my training was actually working. And this leads into one of the biggest mindset shifts. The fourth habit is stopping the mindset of always needing to do more, because that's where most runners get stuck. They think, I'm not improving, so I need to run more. But if your body isn't adapting, more is just more stress, not more progress. And this is why you need to stop asking, how can I do more? And instead start asking, am I actually responding to what I'm already doing? Because if the answer is no, then adding more is not the solution. And this is where the long-term piece comes in. The fifth habit is having a long-term mindset, because progress in running, like anything, is not linear, unfortunately. You're going to have weeks where everything feels great. We love those weeks, but we're also going to have weeks where nothing makes sense. And that's part of it. What matters is that you keep showing up and you keep refining your system, because improvement doesn't come from perfect weeks, it comes from consistent years. And this is a part I really want you to take with you. You should absolutely run more if your goal is to become a better runner, but only when your system shows that your body's actually ready for it. That's when more volume becomes powerful, not before. And this is honestly why I started creating my own programs, because I kept seeing runners doing everything right, following plans, putting in the work, and still thinking they were the problem, when in reality, the structure just didn't match where they were at. And I see that all the time. Runners being consistent, showing up, doing everything they're supposed to do, but still feeling like it's not working. And it's because their training doesn't match what their body actually needs. I think one of the biggest issues with a lot of training programs is that they're built around the result people want. A sub 4-hour marathon, a sub 25-minute 5K, but that's not how progress actually works, because two completely different runners can follow the exact same plan and get completely different results. And there's nothing wrong with either of those outcomes. But when everything is tied to a specific time goal, the runners who don't hit that number start questioning themselves. And I see that all the time too, when in reality, they were just following something that didn't match where they were at. And that's the part that frustrates me, because the best program isn't the one built around a goal time. Is the one built around your starting point and what your body can actually adapt to right now. So everything I build is based on time, heart rate, and actually controlling the training load instead of just chasing distance or pace. So if you want something structured like that, then the link will be on the left and also in the description. And if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. You don't get faster from doing more. You get faster from doing what your body can actually adapt to. And once you have that, then you earn the right to do more. If this way of thinking about training resonates with you, make sure you're subscribed, and I'd generally love to know what's one thing in your training right now that just doesn't feel right. And if you want to understand how to actually train this way, then I'll leave my Run With Me playlist right here, where I take you through how I execute my runs in real time. See you there.